as we kind of come down the stretch here, your number 3 movie, this is a real interesting one. The Creator. This is a sci-fi film coming out this month. It's, much like another film on our list, it looks like it probably should be in the Star Wars universe, but it's not. Tell me about The Creator starring John David Washington.
It's funny you said Star Wars universe because this is the guy who directed Rogue One.
Yep.
So that's why we have that feel. One fact that he directed Rogue One gets me excited because that is one of my favorite, might be my favorite Star Wars movie. So I'm excited to see what he can do with like an original idea, get shed kind of that Star Wars thing of like, oh yeah, you made Rogue One, but what else can you do? So I'm rooting for him to do well in this and with a decent budget. I'm also rooting for John David Washington because I have an unpopular opinion about him. I think that he's been okay at everything he's been in. I haven't seen BlacKkKlansman, so I can't talk about his performance in there, and I heard that he was great in that. But everything else I've seen him in, I was like, oh, he's been okay.
Ballers? He was good in Ballers?
I haven't seen that. That's the Dwayne The Rock show, right? I haven't got to see that yet either. So I might have missed some of his best performances, which is very possible. But I'm rooting for him. I want him to get like a vehicle, and he was okay in Tenet, but that was a mess of a movie to me. And I don't think Chris Nolan did a great job directing him. But there's a bunch of actors in here that I'm excited for with John David Washington. I'm a fan of Gemma Chan. That's another actress that feel like kind of gets typecasted into the fairy woman role a lot. I feel like that's what she plays it every time I see her.
She was good in Eternals.
Yeah, she was great in Eternals. And it's funny, she was good in Captain Marvel too. Got to play 2 MCU roles. She was green in one. I'm a fan of Benedict Wong, and there's a couple actors in here that are like character actors that I'm a fan of that I'm excited to see. But the concept, a big thing about right now is the battle of AI. What's the responsible way to deal with things with AI? Should we be using it and things like that? And I think that the fact that this is dealing with like way far in the future where AI has gone crazy and they're doing what so many people have warned us about. Terminator has warned us about already. It's going to be like an eye-opener, and hopefully people see this like, oh yeah, see, look again, we get a modern movie that's showing us that you shouldn't be doing this. But the idea of like a person's mission is to take out this thing, and then it being like a kid and them having conflicting emotions about that, even though they know it's a robot, but the fact that it looks and acts like a kid, I think can be an interesting storyline. And I'm always down for a new sci-fi world. I think that's like the biggest thing.
Absolutely. And before we know it, there's going to be the Creator 75. Creator prequels. The Creator of the Creator.
The Creator 2049.
Yeah. It's interesting too to look at this and see Allison Janney is in this. Anytime you can have a West Wing actor in there, that's another good sign. And look, Ken Watanabe. I love everything he does. Even if Ken Watanabe is not saying Godzilla, it's still good to have Ken Watanabe in a film, because people forget that Ken Watanabe was in Inception, and he was sort of the target of the heist, of the dream heist in Inception. Solid actor. The fact that we have this kind of a stacked cast in a Gareth Edwards film that's not attached to any major IP intellectual property shows exactly how good the script must be. I think that Tenet was a victim of so many of Christopher Nolan movies go past 3 hours or push the 3-hour limit. My theory was that Warner Brothers was finally like, all right, you have director's cut, you have final cut, but you have to deliver a film that's 2.5 hours or less. So if you look at the runtime, it's like 2 hours and 29 minutes on the nose. But at the same time, him as a director was like, but I'm not cutting anything out. So I think that's part of what the flow problem was, what the pacing problem was that they cut everything down to be the shortest version possible. And Tenet just didn't have time to breathe. Because, we can't cut out any storylines, God forbid, so let's include everything. And by doing so, to me, to me, by doing so, by not giving it any time to breathe, nothing really sinks in. So it's sort of like...
And also the audio issues as well. When I watched it in theaters, I was like, I don't understand anything that's going on, really, in certain scenes.
Well, that's just Christopher Nolan in general.
Yeah, that's true. It happened in Oppenheimer too, so I can't even talk.
Once Inception came out, I was like, man, I know I got to watch this a second time before I can even comment on it. So I love John David Washington, and the fact that he hasn't done a movie with his dad yet, I have a certain amount of respect for that, because Hollywood is just such a thing where it's all about connections. And yeah, I'm sure he uses his, he didn't change his last name like Nicolas Cage did, but the fact that he hasn't relied on his dad directly, at least in terms of co-storing with him. Hey, let's do a father-son buddy comedy or whatever. I have a certain amount of respect for that, and him kind of coming up through Ballers and doing non-leading man roles and just doing the work and becoming a good actor. I respect that.
And his sister is now making her way up. She's in a show on Amazon Prime called Virgo, and I heard she's doing a really good job in that show. Olivia Washington.
Oh, Olivia Washington, nice.